here's the current issue of Captain America at time of recording, which came out last week, issue number 11. And I have a subscription because that's why it's in this bag. And my copy came out on, arrived in my mailbox on July 30th. So it was about a week late, which is not too bad for a subscription copy. People are sometimes curious about how subscription copies come. It comes in this little plastic bag and this little backer, which isn't too thick, but it's fine. Usually, I haven't had any problems. You can see the condition there, perfect condition. I haven't had any problems for the most part. Occasionally, you might get a dinged corner or something like that, but I'm not too picky because I end up dinging corners when I buy them at the shop anyway. Sometimes I'll get it home and accidentally drop it. But as you can see, it's issue number 11, legacy number 761. So this is something like volume 10 or something like that. Because it seems like nowadays, every time they have a renumbering, they renumber every time a new writer comes on board practically. And sometimes not even that. Sometimes it'll be the same creative team and they renumber anyway just to, goose the sales. But the legacy number is in there. It's a little way of keeping track of your collection. If you have the last Captain America, the last Steve Rogers Captain America run, Sentinel of Liberty, by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzig, that only ran about 12 issues or something like that. So this is almost as many as the previous run ran. And I think the Ta-Nehisi Coates run before that ran only around 28 issues, 30 issues, somewhere around there. So they don't run very long, but that legacy number helps keep track of them if you're putting them in your boxes, of where you're at, what volume it is. Cover price is $4.99, and for that price you get 22 pages roughly of Captain America story, and then there's a little 5-page backup serial that's running through some of the Marvel comics this month. It's a Deadpool and Wolverine multiverse backup story, which I think they're just doing just to promote the movie, and also maybe to promote the comics too. Of maybe get some people who normally don't buy Captain America and Thor and Fantastic Four to get them to buy those comics just for the backup. Don't know if that'll work, but you never know. Nice cover there. I think that's by Jesus Sayas. Let's see, or is it by? Oh, it's by Torian Clark, right there. Really nice cover. Written by J. Michael Straczynski, art by Jesus Sayas. Both really good creators. I like them both. This run is a little different than what even though they were the ones that started they launched this new volume of Captain America. It started out much more like a Captain America comic, very street level, sort of referenced his past, the 1930s. Stuff like that. This current story arc is much more of a mystical fantasy type thing, which some people may have a problem with. Some people may think, gee, that's not really Captain America. That's, it could be anybody. Anybody could be the hero in this story. Well, that's true. But on the other hand, it is a change of pace. It's something interesting. And it shows that you can tell really any type of story with a Captain America story. I mean, there have been outer space Captain America stories, So, anyways, so here's the description of what's going on. So basically, in the past 2 issues, he had to, Steve Rogers, Captain America, had to go get these people that are called change agents to bring them to the, what's it called? The Front Door Cabaret, which is this place in New York that is sort of like this secret cabaret club where a whole bunch of artists and mutants and freaks sort of hang out and perform, sort of like stories from the stage, but starring super powered artsy freako type people. And the woman that runs it is named Lyra, I think. Let's see here. It should say, yeah, Lyra. Her sister, the sister of the Death, who's coming to take over the Front Door Cafe. And Lyra has sent Steve Rogers to go to get these various change agent people to bring them to the Front Door Cafe. I think to protect them from Death, who's coming. So it's a very strange story. The art is beautiful. Jesus Sayas has a sort of photorealistic type European graphic novel type art style. Now, the good thing about it is that it's, really nicely done, really ornate looking. Probably the bad part for some people may be that it is a little stiff looking, so not very action packed. He can have sort of a dynamic poses when he wants to, but like other artists like Mike Deodato Jr. and people like that, they have really nice, elegant, polished art style, but it's not going to be very kinetic and loose and cartoony, that sort of thing. So that's the drawback. But on the other hand, look at that panel. I mean, when I first saw that opening panel, it's just one panel of a street, but I was like, wow, think of having to draw that. He must have had photo reference for this to get all that down. And we see Steve Rogers talking to Sharon Carter on the phone, telling her that he's in Chicago. There's that Lyra person that sending Cap on his mission. And so there's a lot of talking. And then here is Steve Rogers in Chicago in some park going into like a secret cave to find these people. These are the two people, the change agents from the previous two issues. Now this woman here is actually like a spy, which was revealed at the spoilers ahead. That was revealed at the end of the previous issue. So they go in this cave, and there's like a line of people in this cave. It's very kind of strange. And then there's a lady at the desk, and they're here to see this change agent person. It's all very strange. It's sort of like a Twilight Zone, which J. Michael Straczynski had written for the revived Twilight Zone series in the 1980s. I think it was a script editor. But you can imagine it as like a fantasy story in the magazine of fantasy and science fiction or something like that. It kind of makes me wonder if this whole Front Door Cabaret thing was an idea that he had for something else, like his own short stories or novel. And he just never got around to that, but it was like an idea thing. And then when he was writing Captain America, maybe I'll just go with this. This is interesting. And sort of shoehorned Captain America into this pre-existing story that he already had, or at least this idea for a story. Anyways, when they go into the cave to meet the person, there's his sister, who's his protector, who vows to like kill them if they even, insult him. And there's the guy that they're going to see, the change agent. And he can see the future. So they go up to him to see their future. He sort of knows who they are. And he goes to read her future, the woman that is going to betray them. But he says, I do not see anything, perhaps I'm out of time. Now, here's what I think is going to happen. He obviously can see the future. And so he knows. She was worried that he was going to know that she's going to betray them, or that she's a spy or whatever, working against them. Here's what I think is going to happen. And I could be totally wrong. I think that he saw the future where they were all fighting death, and he saw that she was going to betray them. And maybe he saw his own death, because he kind of says here about how he's like lived a full life and things like that. So he maybe resigned to the fact that death is going to get him. And so he sort of accepted that. She may be involved in that. Maybe she either tries to save him, or maybe he sees her betray them. I think she's probably going to end up saving them, and then I don't think J. Michael Straczynski is going to make her a villain, but like she's going to turn out to be good after all. I would think that would be a thing that would make the whole thing seem much more positive, that she had a sort of transformation, that she realized, oh, I'm not going to betray them. I think that's what's going to happen, and he'll end up dying. But she'll have something to do with it. Maybe you know, he goes to save her or something. Who knows? But I think that's what's going to happen in the next few issues. Something like that is going to happen. There's going to be some sort of thing where it turned out he actually did know. So then we flash back to Lyra talking to Steve Rogers again. There's the stuff in the front door cabaret. As you can see, it's sort of like a stage where people are performing. She sort of is presenting this as like the reason for this place to exist and for him to protect it is that this is a home for him, because she references back in the first issue of this story, this series, the volume 10 or whatever. He had went to restore his old childhood home in New York, and so she kind of mentions how he doesn't have a home, and so she was hoping the front door cabaret can be like his home. I don't know about that. That seems like, what kind of home would that be? That's like a place you just go out of every now and then. Avengers Mansion is like a home away from home. Even if he needed to go to Shield headquarters or someplace. I don't think Captain America is like any. Is it really in any need of a home, specifically? So, but so he doesn't. It doesn't really seem. I mean, Steve Rogers is an artist. That's his profession. An illustrator. He did have. There was in Avengers number 46, I think it was back in the 60s. There was a reference to him being a sucker for far out fantasy because he was reading a volume of Tolkien. So that was sort of established just because of that throwaway line. Oh, he's a lover of fantasy. And then as a child, he was reading, fantasy stories as a way of escapism for the bullying and stuff that he was enduring as a child. So he does have this sort of interest in fantasy, and as a quote unquote artist. But I don't know. He didn't seem like much of a thespian or anything like that. So it just seems kind of perhaps not too typical. He does say, earlier here that he's a soldier. I'm a soldier. It's how I see the world. So he seems if you go back to like Captain America's Bicentennial Battles by Jack Kirby in 1976, there's a thing where Mr. Buddha is presenting all these different movie scenarios, and he doesn't feel comfortable with sort of the Busby Berkeley overly patriotic scene. He does feel more comfortable when it is with soldiers, like this shows a whole bunch of female soldiers sort of walking around him in this sort of musical routine. And he feels more comfortable with that. So I think Captain America would be more comfortable perhaps in like more of a military setting, but than a front door cabaret. But you never know. Some of this art, like I said, is really nice. Look at how Steve Rogers is drawn there. That's, to me, that's like just really inspiring. I would love to be able to draw like that. Some really, I mean, now other people. Oh no, it looks like my staple came loose on my comic. So that's one bad thing. Oh well, it's probably from me pulling the pages. See, it wasn't like that before, so that's one of the things. It's like the more I read the comic, the more damage I do to it. So that's probably why I'm not too concerned about subscription copies. But anyways, some people may not like this art because they think, well, that's too stiff. But to me, it's really just really beautiful. And then you have the scene of Steve Rogers on his bike as he's riding away. And then you have this sort of epilogue here where the Death character has arrived on Earth and he walks among us out in the desert. So this is the bad guy, I guess, that they're going to be facing off against. That is Lyra's brother or whatever. He's probably going to be going to the front door cabaret to attack them. And the 3 change agents that Captain America has recruited are going to fight him. So there's a bit of a cosmic element to this, and I like that in the sense that it is something ambitious. If you look at something like Jim Starlin's Warlock or Jim Starlin's Captain Marvel, um, they were really taking sort of established characters, but really going off into a much more ambitious angle. So Captain America, is the same in the sense that J. Michael Straczynski can say, you know what, I'm going to do a much more cosmic type story, or mystical fantasy type oriented story. And there's no reason that Captain America can't be that. Now, wouldn't necessarily want that in every issue, but it is an interesting change of pace, and it shows you can do any kind of story in Captain America. Now, here's a preview of the cover art for the next issue, issue number 12. It says, Death has come to Earth and intends to take humanity off the playing field. Captain America has assembled the mutant change agents who can save everyone, but is it too little too late? Well, we'll see. I predict that he will win. This cover doesn't look too interesting. I mean, it's all right. And then at the end here, you have that 5-page Deadpool Wolverine weapon extraction. This is part 2. Part 3 is in Fantastic Four number 22. Part 4 is in this week's issue of Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider. And part 5 of this story arc is in Immortal Thor number 13, which also comes out this week, July 31st. July 31st, 2024 is when those 3 issues came out. So it's sort of a silly thing. I read it once. It was, it's nicely drawn, but I'm not into Wolverine and Deadpool, really. So there you have it. So that's the current issue of Captain America. I probably should have said at the beginning, spoilers. Oh well. But I enjoy this run. I enjoy, there's the art is great. J. Michael Straczynski is obviously a great writer. So I have no complaints. It is kind of off in a sense. I think some people, it's more of a slow burn type thing. It's not something that's really going to make people go, wow, But it is an intelligent run. I sort of wish something like this, sometimes we don't realize that we have an embarrassment of riches. I wish something like this was done with Captain America back when I was, say, a teenager in the 1980s, when I kind of stopped buying Captain America because it was so predictable and so forth. And the art was sort of mediocre. And I'm talking about like in the late 1980s and stuff, and early 90s. I just, had stopped buying Captain America and thought it's not as good as the older issues. Well, this is obviously quality. I mean, as we just flipped through it, you could see the quality in the work. So I'm enjoying the series, and I recommend getting a subscription like I have. It's like I said, I only had to pay like $2.25 an issue, but the prices have gone up on the subscriptions. But I think it comes to around $2.99, maybe a little less, so about just under $3 per issue, which is less than the $5 cover price. So that's that. Current issue of Captain America number 11. I'm enjoying it. We'll see how long it lasts. The last Captain America run only ran like about 12, 13 issues. So the one before that only ran about 30 issues. So I'm hoping this has a nice long run. I hope J. Michael Straczynski stays with this comic. I hope Jesus Saiz stays with it too. He's going to be doing sort of every other story arc. He's not doing every story arc. So hopefully he'll come back for the next story arc as well. Anyway, that's my review. Thanks for watching.